and I'm going to
It's very easy just to say and get carried away with one thing, when in fact there's lots of things. And there
So
are
I think
people
I'm
taking
live
advantage.
now.
I mean, look in China.
You don't want to be on
Like
it,
an
do you?
octopus. Billionaires in China.
This is my live stream. I
In
don't
China, how they're treating their people and all the rest of it. Every culture has.
Yeah, but it stays. It's not like
minority
Instagram.
beliefs
It does
that
stay
are
there.
actually not there for the benefit of everyone else. And
Hello
so
everyone. I'm at Speaker's Corner and I found an MRA and I think it's hilarious. So I'm going to actually
That's why the church gives out that crap every Sunday.
advocate that we
there are families.
have a look at what he's saying.
Yeah, but there are families who are
Jesus
Catholic
is a Catholic.
who are not involved.
it's
Who are not
a load
involved.
of
Well, it's
lies.
Roman Catholic. It's the Roman Empire from the past.
Studied it know that.
It's complex.
Why do they go to the church? It's just a
But that
building.
is another.
People, I
this
think
is
a lot of
another
us has
issue.
realized that a lot
Stupid
of
is the
people are
word.
way beyond like.
Why do you think Biden's there? At least the Americans. Don't forget it. When I was a
Any
little
comments
boy
on
growing up in
feminism?
Leicester,
Because I suspect
the
that
hard-
you can take
Did you see
photos
the
and film in
documentary on the
public.
KKK?
Yeah,
good.
filming it.
That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
white
yeah.
And what are
supremacy.
your
It's not
feelings on
going
it?
away in America
Well, I haven't
because
read
the
all
same
of
people
your
are
sign
organising
yet, so
Black
I'm
Lives
not going to
Matter.
comment until I
Black
read your
Lives
sign.
Matter,
Okay.
racism,
They do give
white
an impression,
supremacy,
my signs,
Christian
and when people
KKK
talk to me,
in the
they,
south of the states.
But they've been
It's
growing
not.
over the years.
America's
So what-
finished.
why
The
do
whole
you think-
country's going to be fucked.
Why do you think?
And it's not an accident that Sleepy Joe, and I'm a Trump supporter, it's not an accident that Sleepy Joe,
Is
at
Kelly
least they haven't
J
tried to kill him. But when I was a little baby in Leicester, they murdered JFK because the white supremacists of the South hate Catholicism.
And this is another issue.
I don't understand
Yeah.
why you're saying any of those
Can you
things.
take-
Biden's a
somewhere
Catholic,
else,
and the
guys.
Catholic Church still teaches white supremacy.
I don't know.
Well, you know now.
Well, I don't know.
They're just
either.
not in your face like the KKK.
Well, yeah, well, you say that.
The
I don't know
Catholic
that
Church
much.
teaches white supremacy.
Well, I've never seen that, but I'm not a
I've never
Catholic.
heard of that.
I
Go
will
to any
talk-
church.
I will
Catholic
talk
Church is
to
all
other
over.
people
They
and see
won't
what they
say
think.
it.
I'm trying to have a conversation
Why do they have
about
pictures
feminism.
of a white, long-haired hippie?
There are many Catholic priests now that are black.
Black,
Yeah, but they're under the yoke of the Church of Rome.
No, many.
And they're not black, they're brown.
Many of the
Robert Mugabe was a Catholic. He was a mass murderer.
So funny.
many of the head Jesuits are black.
They're all
So
white
it's-
men in
no, they're
drag,
not.
or
Many of
they're
the
all
head Jesuits
they're
are
all they're all stooges of the global empire of the god Satan.
Why- can
of
I
the
just-
May I
Church
get
of
back
Rome.
to
Can I just
feminism?
ask,
Yes.
why do you think that Kelly J. Keane is a believer in critical theory? Why do you
Which one
believe
of
that?
them? It's been such a long time since
Uh,
I've
in
met,
the- in
I've
the-
met Kelly Gray.
You've met
King.
Kelly J. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've spoken to her, and she
Yeah.
once said to me that it's actually women who suffer the worst in divorce courts, and I'm just thinking, where are you coming from, lady? Some women do, but very rare.
What's that got to do with critical theory?
Critical theory, because early feminists.
It's on the second one down there. Is Kelly J. Keane another politically motivated feminist?
Yeah.
It says her female victim narrative concerning white men should be clear to see by anyone not indoctrinated by critical theory.
That's right, because she's hanging out with TERFs, trans
Yeah.
exclusionary radical feminists. A lot of them are the
Yeah.
first and second wave feminists.
Yeah.
And they it was actually people like Andrea Dawkins who said gender's a construct. So a lot of this was
Right.
actually brought in by the first and second wave feminists, not all of them. And now you've got the first and second wave feminists hating anyone who's identifying as a woman who was not born female. But and then you've got the later feminists, the younger ones, third and fourth wave feminists, who are quite happy for anyone who identifies. But the stereotypes of what men are appears to be coming out of from what I've met from Kelly J. Keane. Very negative stereotypes, incredibly gynocentric in her belief systems.
Well, she's woman-centered, isn't she?
Well, she
so
is
that
very-
means
the
that's
thing.
what gynocentric means.
But even
isn't it?
Erin Pizzey is woman-centered, and she opened the first battered
but
woman
she's
shelters.
a very controversial person.
yes,
who's-
because
who's-
she came
who's done
from-
all sorts, hasn't she,
And
over
the
the
reason-
years?
well, good-
But what I'm saying is, why? Like her belief is that men are people that are born male.
Yeah, and that's
the
right.
definition of men is you're an adult human male.
Yeah,
Only
So
when
and
you're
that's
18.
and that's
So that's when you're an
That's
adult.
valid.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
she's
In
correct
every
in
country.
that, but
So what's
she's using that fact when in fact she's hiding a lot of other facts where her
So what-
attitude towards men
You get
is very
hermaphrodites, you know.
I know you do.
don't.
They're
Yes,
quite.
you do. I met
You
one.
actually
No,
do
you
get.
don't.
You do get physical hermaphrodites.
You
They're
do
very
not
rare.
get hermaphrodites.
They exist.
That means that you have male and female genitals.
Yes.
Why do we have breasts?
You do.
You don't
You
get
no, you do. You get a
hermaphrodites.
rare thing where you get
right.
people, and sometimes you get men
You don't.
with.
The
you do.
only time that can ever happen that you have both male and female DNA is when you have a situation where you have
Yeah,
like.
but you've got to know the RNA as well before you speak.
Oh goodness sake!
Obviously, you didn't read
You can have a
genetics.
couple of cells that have been engulfed by another person. I mean, if I'd had sons, I would have a little bit of male DNA in me because it would be a couple of cells from my children that would stay in my system.
But
I'm still born female.
And I'm not talking about.
And I'm not a
trans-
hermaphrodite
Yeah.
because I have a couple of cells of
No,
male
no,
DNA.
I'm not.
if I've
I'm
had a
talking
male
about someone
child.
born where they're neither one or the other,
But
and
you
they've got
can't
bits
have,
of each.
You can't have bits of each because it's
You
the
can.
same structures in an embryo that either get directed into developing into a female reproductive system
a tiny
or
minority
into
of people
a male.
in your-
It is a
Not
very
tiny,
tiny
it's-
minority. As
it's-
far as I
it's-
believe it, it's a tiny
really
minority
worth-
of people.
It's
Some
not
countries
worth
in the
it.
Far East
But they were
actually
talking
consider
about
them
it.
very
It's
special
not
people.
represented.
No,
It's
it's-
not the following real
it's-
life
Well, then
people.
let's go home and Google and look up
And
hermaphrodite.
you don't need to because I can tell you that the total number of percentages of people that are born with differences of sexual development is 18 out of 1,000 people, and
Yeah,
that
it's very
involves-
small.
That does not involve people that have both sets of genitals.
There's
That
a-
is people who have like a deformity or a difference.
Yeah,
of the
well,
way their
it is a bit
genitals
of a
look.
it's a bit of a
And it
sexual
does
deformity
not-
in
and
what
it
it
does
is.
not
I believe
mean
it is.
that you
I
have
believe it is
male
a
and
thing.
female. That
I believe
means-
it is a tiny minority of people who do actually can be
But in
considered
any
natural
case,
hermaphrodites.
what I'm saying, they don't have both male and
No,
female
but they have
genitals.
parts of it, and they have parts
No, they
missing
don't
from
have
their gender.
parts.
How do you know?
Because I understand biology.
Yes, no, but I have heard that there is a tiny
Oh, you've
population of
heard.
people, and in the Far
But
East
it's
they're
not
actually very
true.
respectful. Well, I will
You're
look into
talking-
it then.
You're talking about people that have differences with the way their genitals appear.
Yes, and
That
they
does
are
not
often
mean-
called. No, it doesn't mean that they've got a full set of everything of
Thank
both
you,
sex.
thank you,
But
because
they
that's
are
what a
considered.
hermaphrodite
They are
means.
considered hermaphrodite because they have a bit of both.
There are lots of cultures in the world that have dealt with the issue of male homosexuality by assigning certain men as less men or a
Let's see.
third sex
Anything can
or
happen.
something
Yes,
different.
I'm sure they have.
Because it's a way of dealing with male
Well, it's also a way of
homosexuality.
dealing with men who may look effeminate in many ways. And they'll say,
Exactly,
well,
it's
they
not
are.
hermaphrodites, is it? But anyway, going back, why are you talking about critical theory there? Because Kelly J's whole thing is against critical theory. She's a
Yes.
big believer that critical theory is an
Well,
absolute
no, because
nightmare.
what she does is she's picked and chosen things. The fact is, if something is born as a male, it is a male, even if it identifies later in life as a female. Now, there's a whether or not you treat the person with respect, and hopefully you do if they're a reasonable person, is another thing. A lot of this thing is her attitudes towards men are very similar to the suffragette attitude towards what maleness is. The dislike, the misandry towards what men are, the hatred towards what
But
men
she
are.
loves men. She's married to a man.
She's
She's
married
got
to a
three
man, but
sons.
she's also she's been very much involved with radical feminists, and they have swayed her, and she's also very gynocentric, so it's meant the problems that affect men and boys are invisible to her.
No, they're not invisible to her.
They
She
are
just
very-
chooses not to
Have
focus
you met
on
her?
them. Yes.
I've met her, and I've spoken to her, and when she told me it's mainly women who get a bad outcome when it comes to the divorce courts, it's complete nonsense.
What do you call a bad outcome?
Often if the man's life is ruined by the court and any allegation the woman has made, and if it's unproven, it's still believed. Everyone assumes that the man, if the woman says something about what he's done, he has done it. They're incredibly corrupt.
Are you using motivated reasoning here?
Motivated reasoning. And what do you mean by that? That I'm motivated with my...
Do you have a personal experience which is
I've met a
informing
lot
your
of men
reasoning?
who have been dragged through the courts and lost everything.
And they've told you that I never
have-
hit her, I never did this, I never. She said
there's
all
not
this.
been any mention of hitting. There's been mentions about what's been done and how they've never been able to
Because
see their children.
to me, the bad outcome of a divorce court would be not being able to see my children.
And
The
that's
money
what
thing
happens
doesn't
to a
come
lot of
into
men.
it.
That's what happens to an awful lot of men.
It's,
And
I
it
can
ruins
tell
their
you,
lives.
I can tell you as someone who's separated from a man, that it's almost impossible to stop a man from seeing your children.
Oh, that's not true.
Almost
Maybe now.
impossible.
How long ago did you divorce him?
That's
Because
not
things
true
have
at all.
changed.
It's not true that
In
you
courts
can't.
all the time, the
Family
judge
courts.
says this man isn't fit enough, or did something wrong, or isn't
If he's-
financially stable, or whatever, or is on drugs, or is crazy, or whatever.
And they often make the man
the
financially
man can see
unstable.
them once a month or something.
And
You
when he
know, it
goes
happens
there,
all the time.
and a lot of men, I've
Happens
met,
all the time.
I've
I
met
can't believe
men.
you don't think the courts are to the side of the women in all these divorce proceedings. They don't lean towards the right of the female.
Because all the
really
experts
don't
in
know.
domestic violence
You don't
are
know.
feminists.
I don't agree with you. No.
Well, you're wrong.
You're wrong. You're completely wrong. You're living outside of reality. Yeah.
Well, that's a convincing argument. Just telling me I'm wrong.
You are wrong,
Everyone
because the
knows.
amount of men I've met, and they've spoken
knows.
about how the mother said, no, you can't see the child, and the child's looking out the window at them. And there are men who are in their 50s and 60s are still tearful about all the years they missed out on seeing
right
their
now
children.
is towards the women.
And the cross-
One day the system will turn against the women, and the women will see every damage that they've done. One day the system will turn. Women are just being used to weaken men now.
That doesn't make any sense though, because what we're talking about is what's in the welfare of a child. That's
No,
what-
we're not. It's
that's
not the
what-
welfare of the child.
You're
They
being
use that term.
used-
It's the welfare of the
Miss,
woman.
You're being used to weaken men because there are much
And weaken
bigger
the family.
military, geopolitical, historical things going on right now, and you're being used to weaken men and create divide and conquer. You're
And-
dividing the people. The people are being divided on purpose to make them isolated, weak, so the government can come in and do whatever they want.
And
You're being
you
used
brought
So
up-
you're
just like the
saying-
Let me,
racist.
let
So
me, you
you're
brought
saying-
up critical theory to start with.
Absolutely.
In that.
So what
in
I'm
that,
saying is, if a woman and a man are getting
Be
divorced and they
smarter,
go
miss. You're being used.
and they go to a family court to decide on the outcome of that divorce, who has custody of the children, who might be on the line to support those children, and you're saying that is them being used by some kind of global elite.
No,
in order
it's
to
been used by the
deregulate
courts.
society.
That's such
Is
a
that what
horrible
you're
step to
saying?
take.
Mate, can
What are you
you're
saying?
having a separate conversation here.
Alright,
So what
sorry,
do we do?
sorry.
You brought
I'm
critical
talking
theory.
about critical
Karl Marx in the
theory.
1800s said you get
Yeah.
the father out the family, and then the mother and the status of the family for the mother and children. And it was what he wanted, and it weakens the whole family. The mother's then reliant upon the state to pay for everything, because if she's looking after the children, usually she
Well,
can't work full
you know
time.
about Karl Marx and his treatment of his family. Don't
Oh, I know.
you?
He was a horrible man.
He was a
an
horrible
appalling
man. Yeah, absolutely.
He was a killer. He was a.
But he had a very what would be called today a very abusive household, where he set up with his maid, didn't he, under the nose of his wife, as husband and wife with his maid.
Karl Marx, yeah, and they had a son, and nobody knew it. Karl Marx was a
Yeah.
very abusive man, and even in
Absolutely.
the library, he was abusive to people, and he
Yeah.
was a pig in every many ways. And
So what you're talking about, critical theory, that's the just to give me a definition
well,
of critical
what is critical theory? It's social communism. Communism failed economically everywhere it went, and it ended up in starvation and killings. When you're looking at the Frankfurt School and what they brought, the long march through the institutions with film, music, and everything else in our society, that's critical theory. And one of the key words in that is equality, where everything is equal, when in fact things are different. Like I've got there, men are not equal to women, and women are not equal to men. You got outliers, men and
I
women.
would agree that men and women are complementary. They don't
Yeah,
have
they
to
should
be
be
the same about
complementary, yes.
everything. They can have different skills. And
Doesn't
they
mean they're all going to be
complement each
nice.
other. But where, but where does that mean that Kelly J. Keane is a believer in critical theory, because she is the female victim narrative concerning white men is clear to see by anyone not indoctrinated by critical theory. But she doesn't believe in critical theory. She agrees with you
On that, yeah, but the
on
trouble
that.
is the whole process, the whole thing that she's coming here, she's anti-trans,
What do you mean trans?
trans women,
Trans women? You mean men that are
and men
pretending
who
to be
identify
women?
as women, yes, and decide to live a life as a woman.
What does it mean to live as a woman?
You're a
mean
man,
to
you
bear
dress as a
children?
woman, and you
dress
see
as a woman.
yourself
So
as a woman.
what is a woman's dress?
It's clothing.
Is it jeans? Is it a t-shirt?
Oh, it can be anything, but they tend to
can be
dress.
anything.
It could be jeans, but they dress in a way which is seen more as a feminine way, more of a way that a woman would normally dress.
A woman would normally dress in a feminine way.
Well, no, not so much anymore. Not so much anymore
you're
because.
enforcing a cultural norm that women should dress in a so-called
Oh no, I'm not.
feminine
No,
way.
you're accusing me of something. I'm not saying
Okay,
that.
so you're not saying that
No,
there is a,
no,
there
that
is
was
a-
what you just did there was really nasty. You put words on my
Don't say I'm
mouth
being
to
nasty.
say that I am expecting women to dress in a certain
Okay,
way.
so you
I've never
just
said anything like
You
that.
just said that a man pretending to be a woman
Yeah.
because they're wearing clothes that you would
That would
assume
traditionally be female. Yes.
traditionally be female. Okay, so a man that's wearing clothes that traditionally would be feminine clothes.
Yeah.
So what? She is against that. She is against men wearing those
No,
clothes.
she's against males coming into female environments.
Like prisons.
Yes,
hospital
and,
wards.
and other environments as well. A lot of the red femmes don't want men or trans women anywhere near female environments.
A trans woman is a man that would like people to pretend that he's a woman, right?
Would like people to believe that he's a woman. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if women don't want a man in a prison with them that is pretending to be a woman, that's not bad. That's normal. That's what most
that's
women
what
want.
old-fashioned logic would have said. Yes, but
But
you must
it's
understand.
It's not old-fashioned to want women not
Well,
to be raped
nowadays,
in
because
prison.
everything's so complicated and everything's about
But what you're saying is,
feelings.
if women were motivated by critical theory, women would be arguing that those men should be in female
she's
prisons.
taken bits and pieces out of it.
But wasn't it like that in the beginning of the trans?
Sorry.
It wasn't like that in the beginning. Don't film me, miss.
Well, you're at Speaker's Corner and you're arguing with me, so
right.
you're going to get filmed.
Well, where are you putting all this?
It's live on
Woman's a
YouTube.
weirdo.
Hey, what's
It's
your
live
site?
on YouTube.
What's your site called?
Feminist Claire, you'll love it.
Feminist what?
Feminist Claire.
So much hate
Clan.
inside you, miss.
CLAN.
It spreads.
Feminist clan.
I'm not
So you're a
hateful.
feminist.
Why are you
It
saying
really
I'm
spreads.
hateful?
I can see it.
Really? Are you
Yeah.
psychic?
Huh?
Are you psychic? Can
little
you see
bit,
into
yeah,
my
yeah.
soul?
Yeah.
Is it a little black kernel
I can
of
see
hate?
it. I can see it.
Come on
inside
now. You're not being
you. Sad. It's
sensible,
really sad,
mister.
you know. It's really sad.
I think, see, what you're
saying-
doing,
you're
what you're
saying
doing
that
is you
I'm-
coming along and I'm just a lady here and I've got
I'm-
children, when in fact you're a feminist, and most feminists are zealots.
Most women are feminists.
No, they are not. Most women are
Yeah.
women.
Actually, I would call myself a feminist. You know who wouldn't? And that's Kelly Jo Keane. She would never call herself
Well, she
a
told me a
feminist.
couple of times that she wasn't, and once she said she was, so I think she was debating it.
No,
But the
she's
thing-
a witch.
I think she's.
I
I
see by
think
the
she's
way you
playing it.
manipulate the conversation.
No, you
What,
are
me?
manipulating. Yes,
She
yes, you are.
She uses the
Come
You
on.
are
she uses
manipulating
energy
the
to manipulate
conversation, and you
Okay.
live very
Really
much.
smart.
Think I'm a witch because I don't agree with them.
Oh no, we never said that. They
So
said
why
that
are
he
you saying
thinks.
I'm a witch?
He said you're a witch
you
is
do this?
because you're disingenuous, and I think you are pretty disingenuous. Anyway, the whole thing isn't about this lady. I'm a men's rights activist.
I'm going to go over there now. I haven't put your face on this.
I don't,
so,
whatever you like, I don't
but
mind.
I'm
I've
going
been
to go over
filmed a
there.
lot.
But thank you for the conversation.
Oh, anyway,
I've
thank you.
enjoyed having a conversation with
Okay, well, have a good day.
you. Okay.
So yes, I'm a men's rights activist. Men and women are equal.
So I've never been accused of being a witch before at Speaker's Corner. That's new. Anyway, I've got to go because I'm doing things with my daughter ahead of the meeting this afternoon. I'll see you in a bit when we're at the Speaker's Corner, Reformers Tree. Stop. How do I stop it? There.